Good afternoon now, everybody. Welcome. And, one of these things that I get to do every once in a while is I get to introduce somebody. You guys get to know, we have a staff here, and we have a staff of people that are that we don't see on a regular basis. We have people that work that's doing administrative stuff. We have people that work in our thrift store. We have this staff. But one of these critical components, one of these people that are really, really important to what we do here, that most of us, we don't even know her name, is Pastor Nadia. So Pastor Nadia is going to come up, and she's going to give us she's going to tell us a little bit about what she does and about our children's ministry and how important it is that we are able to get some help from you guys.
Hi, you always say hi. Hi. Okay, so I'm very grateful, and it's a blessing to have your children in the children's ministry base camp. In each of our ages that we have in there, we teach different things. For instance, for base camp for 6 to 11, we teach them the relationship with God. For the toddlers, we teach them who God is. And for the nursery, it's not a daycare. We just throw them in there and see what happens. We don't do that. It's more like a foundation. We teach them the relationship, the feeling of love, the security and comfort they get from knowing God is and having a relationship with Him. But the only way that can actually happen is, of course, with the help of all the leaders here and the teachers and employees that are in the nursery, we need the parents' help, because they bring in that different type of sense of security and love that we can't bring to their children. So once they have that in there, they will have more understanding and have a better, stronger foundation of relationship with God. And it's just like a starting point for them. Mm-hmm. So it's never too young to teach kids who God is. So that's what we're going to start off with, the stepping stones in nursery. So we really would love to have your help in the nursery for stepping stones. And even after church, you can come up and sign up for any date that you can come for a second service or for the first, just once a month. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
So, guys, we have this unique opportunity is that we have two services. So you don't actually miss church. You can sign up for one service, and then you can sign up to work for a service, and then you can come in and check out second service, or vice versa, or whatever it is. It really is an opportunity to watch and help children develop. I will tell you is that we don't do it blindly. Is that if you do volunteer to help, and if we become a long-term volunteer, we do background checks. And so we really we trust our kids with people, but we really want to trust our kids with people that are going to, that are safe to be around. And that's not saying that we judge but really we just need to make sure that we're bringing our children into a safe environment. So that is our nursery. And guys, if you ever, even walking in, even if you don't have kids, stop by, say hello. Nadia's lonely over there sometimes. So she is really one of those behind-the-scenes people. Now, onto our series now. So you guys see Alter Ego on the wall, and right now there's a book out, and by the author name is Craig Groeschel, and the book is Alter Ego. You can pick it up on a Kindle, you can pick it up on, you can get it at a Christian bookstore, but the book is really, and you look at it, it says alter, and it's misspelt, and then it's ego. So alter is where you go to lay something down, where you go to make a sacrifice, where you go. We really say we come to the altar and we lay this down, or we get God, and a lot of times we don't really know what that is. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. The second thing is ego. As ego is what we think of ourselves. You ever hear somebody, you got a big ego, or your mind is, and that's like me. My wife would always say, is you had this huge ego, and I go, no, I don't. I'm very self-centered. That's just how I roll. But it's what we think and what we believe about ourselves is what our ego is. So over the next 4 weeks, we're going to talk about, next week, we're talking about control. And really the thing is that our need for control. So if you're sitting next to somebody that has that need for control, you don't have to point them out, like my wife will probably point out, but we all have this need to control things. In 2 weeks, we're going to, our right to be offended. A lot of times we get offended over things that we really shouldn't get offended over, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to kind of dive into it. And then in 4 weeks, we're going to talk about the longing for approval. We're always looking for approval for the people around us. We're always looking, hey, that was great, or this is going on. But really, today we're going to dive into our feelings of inadequacy. A lot of times we just feel inadequate. As As parents, a lot of times we feel that we're just not good enough. Our kids aren't getting the instruction that they need, or they're not getting what they need here. We just feel that there's something wrong. We're like, oh, this mom, she's taking her kids to soccer, and she's taking her kids here, and she's taking her kids there. And we look and we compare ourselves, and we go, well, if I'm not doing all those things, then I'm not being a good mom. And we feel inadequate, or we feel that we're bad parents. As dads, we go, well, I'm working, and so I'm not at home when my kids get home, or I don't spend the time, and we just feel that we're just bad parents and we're inadequate and that our children deserve better. Sometimes we look at it and we go, we're not successful. We look around and we go, okay, I don't have the best car, I don't have the best house, and my job sucks. Or maybe we go, I don't have a car, I don't have a house, I don't have a job. I'm a failure. And we just look at it sometimes and we go, what is our mindset? The big one's the house. My wife and I, we drive through neighborhoods sometimes, and we'll be driving along, and we'll pass by a house, and go, this thing's a mansion. And we go, man, that house is awesome. Wouldn't it be great to have that? And sometimes we make ourselves feel low because we look and go, well, what are we doing wrong? Why is it that we can't have that place? Are we not doing what God has called us to do, or are we just riding our own little thing? Sometimes especially, with men, they worry about their nails, and they worry about their hair, and they worry, wait a minute, let me change that a little bit. So with women, they worry about their hair. They get up in the morning, and they look in the mirror, and they go, man, my hair's a wreck. Her hair is so much nicer. She can afford to have it done 10 times a month. Or, whatever it is, we just get to these things, and we just feel inadequate. We feel we're not smart. We're not popular enough. The other one is sometimes we feel spiritually inadequate. We just feel, I don't read my Bible enough, or, I just can't, I don't, when I first became a Christian, it's one of these things that I became a Christian and I looked at it and I go, hey, I'm going to pray for our food. And I'd be like, God bless this food. Amen. That was it. But I'd be with other people and they'd be praying these 15-minute long prayers, and they'd be like, God, it's so great that you just gave us everything, and you provided the cow that made this meat. And I'd be sitting there looking at them and be like, dude, I am hungry. Can you please get this over with? Sometimes we just feel spiritually inadequate. We feel that we're like, oh, wait a minute, what am I doing here? What's wrong? When my daughter was born, my first daughter, who's sitting here in the front row, when she was born, I was not ready to be a parent, and I kind of knew that. But I really felt inadequate. And things around us changed. Things changed dramatically in our house. So as she was born, all of a sudden the plants started dying in the house. The dog and the cat started losing weight dramatically because we just started feeling, they must have both lost 20 pounds each, and we had a cat that only weighed like 20 pounds. So, it was walking around all bones and everything. But we look at things, and I want to provide everything to this, and sometimes other things get neglected. And we feel inadequate about it. For me, I felt, all the time, I feel inadequate to be a pastor. I get up here and I go, man, I walk off stage and I go, oh, God, that was horrible. And I get people that come up to me, Mike, that was awesome. And I go, I feel horrible. I'm not guiding these people where they need to go. I'm not giving them the direction they need. Because when I first became a youth pastor, I started watching the growth that kids had, and I started watching how things started developing. I go, man, this is awesome. This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And for years, I was always looking for it. I was always looking, what am I supposed to be doing? How am I supposed to be doing what God has given me? So I always tried to find it in different things. I would be out and I would coach Little League. I didn't have any kids on the team. My daughter was, she was 3 or 4 years old. She wasn't old enough to play, but I was out there teaching, and I was out there teaching Little League, and I was like, man, this is awesome. I coached Pop Warner football. No kid on the team. I just wanted to be out there helping guide, helping teach, and I felt fulfillment out of that. But nothing quite like what it was when I started pastoring children, and when I started helping guide them, and when I started helping lead them. But I still felt inadequate all the time. Am I doing what is right? Do I have the right education? Do I have the right mindset? And a lot of times I just look at it and I go, God, I feel so inadequate. I feel that this is not for me. And a lot of times is that we don't really know what is for us because we don't hear this booming God voice, and we don't get this answer. And so sometimes we feel inadequate when God has so much more in store for us. And he goes, and really, why do we feel inadequate? Let's look at some reasons why we do. Number one is that it's unfair criticism. As a child, sometimes we're growing up and our kids go, and our parents look at us and go, you're never going to amount to anything. Maybe you get a teacher that says that. You know, you keep going the way you're going, you're going to be a failure and you're going to be just a waste of, space. You know, maybe the next one is maybe you have a parent go, oh, why did I ever have you? You know, even worse than that is you look down at you look at your parent and they go, you're nothing but a disappointment to me. You know, and when you hear that and when you feel that, it makes us to where you just feel even more inadequate than you ever thought you would feel when your parent looks down and you're just a disappointment. You're and you can't do anything right. You fail at everything. Why is that? Why is it that you can't just follow my instructions? It's just unfair criticism. It really is. The next one is that unrealistic, compliments. Yes, I have to tell you is that sometimes we get told things that we know are unrealistic. Somebody comes up to you, hey, you're incredible. You're so, it's like, I don't have superpowers. I'm not one of these guys. It's not like I get to come out and I jump from building to building. Really, I am not incredible. I am just who God designed me to be. And sometimes we get that. They come out, hey, you're awesome. You're such a great guy. You're awesome. That's almost, you look at it and go, it's unrealistic. It's an unrealistic compliment. Yes, we all are great in our own ways, but really it's just, we look at it, you're the best, and we kind of know that sometimes there's somebody better, and it's hard to live up to. It's hard to get to that point, and when somebody says that, then we have to try for this level all the time, and it becomes almost to where we feel inadequate because we can't maintain that level all of the time. We can only maintain it at this point or that point. We just can't maintain all the time. It's when you look at it and you go, most of us in our homes, we should have a trophy that sits right above our mantle, that we always finish in first place because we have a fear of failure. That should just sit there. We just have this trophy. We look at it all the time because a lot of times we don't step out in order to do what we want to do because we fear that we're going to fail. And guys, I will tell you is that in our church here, and people think I'm crazy all the time. Hey, let's start a church. You're crazy. Hey, let's start a thrift store. You're crazy. Let's do this. No. Because I always say, I got this big vision. I've got this mind, and I look at it, and I go, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And everybody goes, why don't we hold back a little bit, Mike? And I go, why? If we're going to fail, we're going to fail. What difference does it make? Let's step out and let's do it. What's going to hurt? Guys, I hate to tell you, if failure was one of those things that stopped us, nothing would ever get done because we fail at all times, all different types. Everything comes up when we fail. The next one is that unwise comparisons. I said, everybody, at the end of the year, you're going to go on Facebook, and Facebook's going to put together this highlight reel of your year. They're going to put together, you're going to get there, and it's going to be like these great pictures, and I think they got some program that looks for you smiling in a picture, and they put that one up. Mike started the edge. It's one of those, you get one of those big cheesy smiles, and you look at it, and it looks like they've gone through, and, all these different things. So when you look at the timeline, all of a sudden, and it looks unrealistic because if all those good things were to happen, what happened to the strife and the things that we went through? We have all these things that we go through every year, all these issues, these things that bring us down. They don't show that. It's like, here, let's show all the good things. It's just like watching ESPN or any of that stuff. You watch it, and all of a sudden they got all the good. Every bit of good is there, no bad. They don't show, well, on this play. No, it's a highlight reel. But a lot of times we put ourselves and we compare that and we go, this year has to top that. It's an unfair comparison. What we have to do is we have to lay down our feelings of inadequacy. And we're going to really talk about the story of Gideon. So when you hear about Gideon, at the time when God comes to him, the Mennonites have got them, they're prisoner to them. And well, maybe not prisoner, but more they're hiding from them because they are because the Midianites come down and they just kill everybody. They're like, hey, we're just going to come down here and we're just going to take everything. And at the time, Gideon is living in a cave with his family. And they're storing stuff, and they're grabbing stuff, and they're putting it into the cave, and they're hiding. And every time they come over the ridge, these guys go in there, and they close. There's a movie out right now. It's very similar with a caveman movie, and that's what they do. Every time there's any sort of danger, they go hide for fear of change, for fear of what's going to change. And even if change is better, they hide from it. They're like, wait a minute here, that's dangerous. And that's kind of how Gideon was. They were like, we got to hide. We can't be in this. We can look at this in Judges 6, 11 through 16. The angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah and that belonged to Joash and Abzerach, where his son Gideon was thrashing wheat in the winepress to keep it from the Midianites. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Okay, so now, right as we get to this point, Gideon's hiding in caves, right? He's hiding from people. They're trying to store up stuff so it doesn't get taken. But the Lord appears to him and goes, "Mighty warrior, the Lord is with you." Gideon doesn't think of himself as a mighty warrior. He's I'm the weakest. But God calls and he goes, "You're a mighty warrior." What does that make you think of yourself? Where do you think? Do you think that you're a mighty warrior? Even though sometimes we look at it and go, "Oh man, I'm just inadequate." But Sir, Gideon replies, "If the Lord is with us, then why has all this happened to us? Where are all the wonders that our fathers told us about when they said, do not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? I'm sorry. But now the Lord has abandoned us and put us to the hand of the Midian." The Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of the Midian's hand." So now, a lot of us sit on the sidelines and we sit here and we go, "God, I'll do this when you change something. God, I'll start tithing when you give me a better job. God, I'll start doing this when this happens." And God goes, "Wait a minute. Go in the power you already have. I've already given you so much. Go in the power you already have and make it happen. Stop waiting for me to show up and do some miraculous sign. I've already said, I've given you so much." The problem is we sit there and we go, "Oh, I'm going to sit on the sidelines waiting for this miraculous wonder to happen." We wait for God to come talk to us in this booming voice, and God is already telling you, "I've already given you the power. Start moving. Start going. Go save your people." What are you waiting for? What is preventing you from going? And it tells us, it says that, "Am I not sending you?" But Lord asked Gideon, "How can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest, and I am the least in my family." And the Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites." And you, what are you doing? Where are you at? Are you the one that's going out there and making that step out? So let's look at this. 3 things you need to know about you. God's view of you is different than you think. God looks at you and he's just got this whole different look at it. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." The Lord is with you, mighty warrior. He was the weakest and the least of his family. Is the Lord with you? Are you that mighty warrior? Really, that's the question we have to ask and really answer ourselves, is that when I look at myself, do I see myself as a mighty warrior? Because Gideon didn't see himself as a mighty warrior. It took somebody else from the sidelines going, "I see you, mighty warrior." It happened to be God in this point. But God's view of us is so much different than what we view ourselves. God views us and he goes, "You're a mighty warrior," or a mighty princess, or whatever it is. You are powerful. You have so much to give. Go with what I've already given you. But all the times we're sitting, we wait. "God, give me some direction. Tell me what to do. Tell me where to go. What am I supposed to do?" We need to find our inner me so that God can find it. A lot of times we're just so lost. A lot of times we home educate our children. Well, a lot of people home educate their children. And a lot of times, let me step back some. Let me tell you why I don't home educate my children. It's because it's like 6 hours of babysitting for free. It's like, "Here, let me drop you guys off. Here you go." But guys, a lot of times, a lot of times we home educate our children and we don't do it adequately because we're not trained in that. We're not trained to be home educators. We're not, people go to school as teachers to become a history teacher, to become a science teacher. I didn't go to school to be a science teacher. I barely got through science. How can I teach my kid? And sometimes we raise them inadequately. But the big thing is what happens is that as we do this, we end up going, let me do the work for you. Let me step in. Let me go, okay, here, let me just show you how it's done. And the problem is we teach our children that they're entitled to that. They get this entitlement of, well, if I can't do it, my mom will step in, my dad will step in, my friend will step in, somebody will step in and help me out. Instead of us being able to go out and do it on our own, when these tasks that we can accomplish, we tell them, sometimes we sit them down in front of this computer because a lot of our kids are homeschooled on computer now, and we go, okay, it tells you right there on the screen. Sometimes they miss out on that important teaching component, that relationship, that the screen doesn't talk to you. You just don't get that. And so it can be, and we step in and go, why don't you know this? And we step in, and all of a sudden we start doing it for them. We hinder them, but we don't really think of it that way. We just look at it and go, well, I'm just trying to make it to where they can get out of school, and then they can go on and get a job and move on with their life. But we're actually creating this sense of entitlement. Well, somebody's going to hand it to me at that point. I can't do it. They'll hand it to me. I just get it taken care of. Well, my buddy can take care of it. We create these illusions that somebody else can take care of it for us. In our lives, someone told us we couldn't do something. Somebody told us that we're not great. Somebody told us that you're never going to amount to anything. I hate to tell you something, is that in the Bible it tells us different. It tells us in Ephesians 2:10, it says, we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things He has planned for us long ago. You are not what others say you are. You start looking at people in the Bible. There's prostitutes that become the lineage for Jesus. There's David, who's gone out and sinned and caused a murder, and really, he's one of these people we look at, and he's the founder of a whole lot of things. We just look at it and go, he's written books, and we follow him, and we refer to him all the time as somebody we can always go back to. Guys, we are not what we think we are. God has such a bigger plan for us. He has had so much good things that He's looked at and go, I have bigger plans for you. There is something more you are going to do. God's view of you is different than you think. The next thing is God has given you more than you think. We look at this and I'm not adequate. I'm not this. I'm not that. Go in the strength you have. That's what God tells us. Go in the strength you have. Save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you? That's what He tells us. Am I not the one sending you? Then go in the strength that I've already given you. Go with what you already have. You don't need me to show up and go, okay, here's this mighty sword, and you're going to go over there and you're going to just cut everybody's head off. No, He doesn't do that. He goes, just show up with what I've already given you, and you will defeat them. He goes, I read tons and tons of books. I pound through them. I really enjoy it. And this series is based off of a book that I read. And it kind of goes in partnership with it. So if you haven't read it, you can pick it up at different stores. I think I already said that. But you can get this book, really kind of walks us along it. But for me, I read a lot, and I have really great reading comprehension. I can read it, and I know it. I can answer questions out of it. I know it once I read it. But my writing kind of sucks. I mean, like, I can't write nothing. I write it down, and it looks like chicken scratch, and I do that on purpose because I can't spell. I've always had issues with that. I always tell people that's what they make computers for. I mean, spell check, click, and really I've always done that. It's always been my crutch, because I never really had anybody to hold me accountable for making that stuff happen. But I go back, and I tell you is that I read and read and read, but I can't write. I lost my train of thought. That's awesome. That's right. If we're bad at one thing, we can be great at so much more. You were in first service. When I'm bad at something, I'm so good at reading and comprehending it and being able to relay that information That even though that I suck at writing, I'm still good at one thing. I'm still good at being able to do something, and God has given me that tool. He's given me that ability. He's given me this chance to kind of move forward and be like, look, I've given you this tool. Use it. Move forward with it. What are we holding ourselves back with? His divine power has given us everything we need for life and godliness through our knowledge of Him who has called us by His glory and goodness. That's 2 Peter 1:3. And a lot of times, we never have the words to say, but we can be good listeners. You know, we can sit there and we can just, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm just going to sit here and I'll just, what's going on? I don't have that gift. I got words to say forever. Sometimes we're not this upfront person. We're not this person that's on the stage. A lot of times maybe we're like the Nadia who's in the background, but really orchestrates a lot that happens. Really makes things that happen. It's just like Austin on our sound team or our media team. Sometimes we're not the person that's up front, but without the people in the background, things just don't happen and they don't transition well. Maybe you don't make 6 figures a year, but you're home 6 nights a week. You know, and maybe that's the bigger difference. It's not always about money, and we always try to bring back the money, and it's always what it is. Number 3, it's less about you than you think. The Lord answered, I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites together. I will be with you, and you will strike down all of them. When God calls you to do something, it's less about your power and more about His presence. When God calls you to do something, just like when I got called to preaching, it was not about me. It was not about me going, okay, I got to get up here and I got to start doing this. It was all about God's presence and God being able to touch other people and being able to reach other people. It was never going, oh man, I love to get up and talk. I would find something else to talk about. It's really about God doing this. It's about God moving through and us starting relationships. Guys, yesterday I woke up to one of the most, this Facebook tool is great for certain things. It's horrible for other things. But yesterday morning I woke up to this praise report. I come up and you hear, and she's here, so I'll put her on blast. So why not? But Renee puts just how life has changed. How life has changed because of the church. Because of the people here. Because of the relationships that she's had. Because of our wives and because of our people that have just come out and go, hey, we're here for you. Life can change when you open yourself up instead of closing the door going, I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to stop talking about this. When we start putting our faith in God, going, God, I know we're designed to do life together. I know we're designed to do life with one another. I'll try this. Let me put my foot out there. Let me just test the water. You know, as kids, before we jump in a pool, we dip our foot in the water and go, ooh, that's cold. Let me test it a little bit. Let me see what's going to happen. And when we do that, it's all of a sudden amazing what God does. God changes things. He changes relationships. He changes how we feel about things. Guys, I will tell you, is that I remember being a kid, going back in like 5th, 6th grade. I remember being in a play, and, during rehearsals it was great. It was awesome. And then all of a sudden you get up on stage, and, and our worship team can tell you about this. It's at the first time they ever get up here, it's like you get up on stage and you look out and you go, I feel a little sick. You throw up in your mouth a little bit. And you just, It's good the third time, I guess. So when you do that, that's how it was for me. I was like in the 6th grade. I remember throwing up in my mouth on stage and I got to get out of here. But it didn't affect me. I didn't refer back to that when I go, okay, God, you're calling me to preach? Wait a minute, I threw up in my mouth the last time I was up in front of people. You really want me to go talk? I mean, no. We can't allow our past experiences to affect what God has really called us to do. Because a lot of times we look at it, well, I've tried this before, God, and it didn't work out. Because most of the time when we've done that, we've done it under our own power. And we haven't had His presence and we haven't had His power behind us. We've tried to do it and go, God, I'm going to get this new job. And all of a sudden things come through. But for us, most of the time, it's I'm going to go out, I'm going to put all these resumes in, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I never spend any time in prayer, so I don't know where God really wants me to go. How do you expect to be successful then? How do you expect to get a job? Because you don't know where God has a plan for you. He has something He wants you to do, but if you don't spend time with Him, you'll never figure it out. You'll figure out, I need a job, but you'll never figure out what the job is. You'll never figure out what He's called you to do. So when you show up to work, you go, man, I love this place. Instead of showing up going, I hate this job and every one of you that work here. Because when we're led by our own ways, it leads to failure. When we're led with God's ways, it leads to success, and it leads to us being able to do triumphant things. We have to be able to step out and go, you know what, God, I want to be successful, and we have to step into it. And we have to step into God's presence. And we have to be, I'm going to be in the Bible a little bit. I'm going to spend time with the Word. I'm going to spend time in prayer. I'm going to spend time in these places, because a lot of times that's the first thing that gets thrown out. Life gets busy. Oh, here goes the Bible. I don't need that. Wait a minute. That's where you need to be at. You need to start there and then start figuring out where you're going to remove something else. But if you don't have time to spend 5 minutes in the Word, there's something wrong. I will tell you is that you are a good enough mom, you're a good enough dad, but you can't do it all. You can't. You just won't be successful. My wife over there, I heard you. I will tell you is that it's not what you think about yourself or what others think about you. It's what God thinks about you. It's what God looks down and sees and goes, there is my beautiful child doing exactly what I want him or her to do. Doing exactly what I want them to be passionate about. Doing exactly what I've called them to do. But we don't do it because we're so afraid of failure. We've got this trophy on the mantle and we look at it and go, I finished first place every time. It's my fear, my trophy. It's there. I look at it and we're always afraid. We're always afraid to go, you know what? God, I know you're calling me to do this, but I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know. And so it makes it to where we won't step out. We need to step out, and we need to step into what He's called us to do. So that way He looks down at us and He goes, you're doing exactly what I want you to do. You're doing exactly you're exactly where I want you to be at. And even though it's not in a beautiful house, maybe you don't drive a beautiful car, maybe you drive a rust bucket that gets you from point A to point B, but you have a vehicle. It doesn't matter. It's what God thinks about us and how He looks at us and goes, this is my child. And they are beautiful, doing exactly what I want them to do. It doesn't matter what I think of you. It doesn't matter, really, what you think of yourself. The Bible tells us, Philippians 4:13, for I can do everything through Christ, who gives me strength. Do you find strength in Christ, or do you just try and do it all on your own? When you find that answer, you're going to know that, man, maybe I should pick up that Bible a little more. Maybe I should spend a little more time in prayer. Because all of a sudden you'll find that it is so much easier. And life all of a sudden becomes just a breeze. It's just, man, it's easy now. Let's start making the choices. Let's start making the changes. And let's be thankful for what God has done for us. What He's already done and what He's already called us to be. Because He's called you to be something great. It may not be an upfront position, but He's called you to do something that's going to be great. And it's going to be powerful. You are a great warrior, a mighty warrior. Do what God calls you to do and step out. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for calling us your mighty warriors, for calling us powerful, for calling us this great child, that we've been made new, that we get to look at things and we get to look at them through your eyes, and we get to go, you know what, God, I can sense you. But we have to spend time with you to find that. We have to get with our Bibles, and we have to. So God, we ask you for the courage to recognize that we're mighty warriors and that we're here for something greater. We're here to be called for something bigger than what we think, bigger than what we know. God, we know that you have a plan for us. Just give us the courage to see it and recognize it and open it up and accept it and do it. God, we're so afraid of failure, but give us the courage to step out and to put that failure behind us, to put that failure to rest, to where we don't look at it and go, oh, God, I can't do this because I'm afraid of failing. Let us step out and let us just do it. God, this is me, and I just want to be pleasing to you. I want you to look at me and be, this is my beautiful son or daughter. God, we ask you for that strength to just step out, to go fight that army, to fight the people around us, and to know that in your eyes we are adequate. We are exactly what you designed us to be. Just give us the courage to step out and the strength to step out and step into your presence to do what you have called us to do, what you have designed us to do. In all this we pray in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.